My girlfriend lied about being pregnant to trap me while I worked nights to build our future, so I walked out, and she lost everything. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and for as long as I can remember, I've lived by one rule. If you love someone, you work for them. You show up. You put in the hours. You make sure they never have to face the same kind of struggle you did growing up. I was raised in a house where bills were paid late, dinners were sometimes just rice, and my parents fought over every missing dollar. So the day I finally landed a stable job at the factory, I promised myself I'd build a different life, one where the people I loved never felt that same fear. That's around the time I met Maya. I still remember how she smiled at me the first night we talked. She had this effortless charm, this warmth that made me feel seen in a way I never had before. She told me she admired my work ethic, that she'd never met a guy who actually knew what responsibility meant. I felt proud hearing that. Needed, even. And the relationship moved fast. Maybe too fast, but I kept telling myself some people just fit into your life instantly. She'd sit beside me, tracing circles on my arm, and whisper, "I don't need a rich guy or a flashy guy. I just want a simple, loyal man who actually cares." And hearing that felt like oxygen. Like maybe all those years of grinding and sacrificing were finally leading me somewhere good. So I started working overtime, extra shifts, night shifts, whatever I could get. I'd come home exhausted, hands aching, but Maya would hug me and say, "You're doing this for us. I'll find my path soon, I promise." I believed her. Every word. Every promise. I thought we were building a future together, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. But I didn't know then that I was the only one building anything, and that the foundation I was pouring my life into was hiding a lie big enough to destroy everything. I thought moving Maya into my apartment was the beginning of our real future. It wasn't much, just a small one-bedroom with thin walls and a kitchen that always smelled faintly like engine oil from the garage downstairs. But it was mine. It felt like progress. And when she walked through the door with her suitcase, kissed me, and whispered, "This feels like home," I swear something inside me softened. I wanted to give her everything I never had. To make that happen, I picked up night shifts at the factory. The kind of shifts that made your bones hum and your eyes burn. I'd leave at 6 p.m., come back around sunrise, and try not to collapse before showering. But I told myself it was temporary. Every overtime dollar was going toward a future I could almost see, an engagement ring, maybe a down payment someday. Something stable, something real. Maya always said she was job hunting, though I noticed she never talked about interviews or applications. Whenever I'd ask gently, she'd shrug and say, "I just haven't found the right fit yet. But don't worry, we're building this together." And I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe it. After all, love was supposed to be a partnership. Still, little red flags started flickering. Some days she'd sleep until noon, blame mental exhaustion, then spend the rest of the day scrolling on her phone. Other times she'd talk about future vacations, New York, Dubai, beaches, while I was literally trying to figure out how to stretch our grocery budget. I'd laugh it off and say, "One day," but inside, a strange tightness would settle in my chest. Every night at work, while machines clanged and the air filled with hot metal and sweat, I'd picture Maya at home, waiting for me, dreaming the same dream. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered something else, something I kept ignoring. I didn't know it yet, but I was putting in the work for a future she had no intention of sharing. I still remember the night everything shifted. I came home from a brutally long 12-hour shift, my clothes smelling like steel dust and sweat, my legs barely cooperating by the time I made it up the stairs. The apartment was dark except for the glow of a single lamp. Maya sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, her eyes red and glossy like she'd been crying for hours. I dropped my bag immediately. "Maya? What happened? Are you okay?" My voice cracked, half from exhaustion, half from fear. She looked at me, really looked at me, and whispered, "I'm pregnant." For a second, my entire world blurred. The fatigue evaporated. My heart started pounding so hard it felt like it shook my ribs. "Are you serious?" I said, dropping to my knees in front of her. She nodded slowly, her lower lip trembling. "I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared. I didn't want you to think I was trapping you." Those last words hit me like a punch because they were the exact opposite of how I felt. "Maya, no," I said, taking her hands. "This is a blessing. I'm here. I'm with you. We'll handle this." She broke into a sob, collapsing into my chest, saying over and over, "I knew you'd be different from everyone else." In that moment, something inside me transformed. Every doubt I ever had disappeared. I wasn't just working for us anymore. I was working for our child, our family. I promised her then, and there I would step up in every way. And the next day, I told my supervisor I wanted even more hours. Night shifts, weekend shifts, whatever they had. I didn't care what it did to my body. I just kept picturing holding a tiny baby in my arms, giving them a life better than mine. But as I threw myself deeper into work, Maya's behavior shifted in ways I didn't understand then. And I didn't realize that this pregnancy was the beginning of a lie big enough to shatter everything I was killing myself to build. The first few weeks after Maya told me she was pregnant felt surreal, almost dreamlike. I'd come home from night shifts dead on my feet, but the moment I saw her curled up under a blanket, hand on her stomach, everything felt worth it. I'd whisper, "How are you both doing today?" And she'd smile softly, saying, "We're okay, just tired." Those words kept me going through the blaring machines, the chemical smell of metal dust, and the constant ache in my back. But then, the cracks started. The first time I asked if I could come with her to an appointment, she paused for just a second too long. "I get really anxious at hospitals," she said, fiddling with the edge of her shirt. "It's better if I go alone. I don't want you stressing during your shifts." I remember nodding, telling myself she just needed space. She'd had a hard childhood too. Maybe doctor visits triggered something. But when I asked for ultrasound photos, she said, "The doctor said it's still too early." When I asked again 2 weeks later, she said, "They didn't print any. I'll ask next time." And when I offered to call the clinic to get her records transferred to a better facility, she shut down completely. "Why don't you trust me?" she snapped one afternoon. Her voice was sharp, her eyes cold in a way I'd never seen. "I'm carrying your child, and you think I'd lie about something like that?" That guilt hit me hard. I backed off, apologizing, while she cried into her hands, saying she felt alone in this pregnancy. I hated myself for making her feel that way. Meanwhile, bills started piling up: pregnancy vitamins, special foods, random baby essentials she said she needed early to avoid stress. She always paid in cash, slipping receipts away before I could see them. Still, I pushed through it all: longer shifts, fewer meals, no sleep, because I believed every sacrifice would someday be worth it. But at night, lying beside her as she slept, something in my gut whispered that something was wrong. I just didn't know the truth, waiting to rip everything apart. The moment everything shifted didn't come with screaming or an argument. It came quietly, almost innocently, on an evening when Maya was in the shower and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I wasn't the kind of guy who snooped. Honestly, after everything she'd told me, after all the crying and guilt and heavy conversations, I felt wrong even glancing at it. But the name on the screen froze me. Nurse Kelly. The message preview read, "He's buying it. Just keep the act going." My heart stopped. Literally, my chest felt like it caved in, my breath cut off mid-inhale. I picked up the phone with shaking hands, opened the message, and my stomach dropped when I saw the thread. It wasn't a nurse. It was her best friend, the one she always said didn't like talking much. I scrolled further. "Tell him the doctor said no stress. Make sure he doesn't start asking questions. He works too much anyway. Easy to keep him in the dark." I felt sick. The room spun. My throat tightened like I'd swallowed broken glass. There were no ultrasounds, no doctors, no pregnancy. But I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My brain kept flashing through every conversation. "Don't come to the appointment. I'm too anxious. It's too early for pictures." All the excuses, all the tears, all lies. When Maya stepped out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, humming softly, I nearly dropped her phone. She kissed my cheek, smiling like everything was perfect, while my insides twisted into knots. "I'm craving pizza," she laughed, walking toward the kitchen. I stared at her, trying to see the woman I fell for, trying to understand what kind of person pretends to be pregnant with your child. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Something inside me whispered, if she lied about this, what else is she hiding? And for the first time, I began quietly watching her, instead of loving her blindly. The truth was unraveling, and I knew this was only the beginning. I lasted 3 more days before everything inside me snapped. 3 days of pretending to sleep, pretending to eat, pretending to smile. while every word she spoke felt like poison dripping into the cracks of a life I thought we were building together. By the third night, after another 12-hour shift that left my clothes caked in metal dust, I walked into the apartment and saw her on the couch scrolling her phone. The same phone she used to fake a pregnancy with the help of her friend. Something in me finally broke. "Maya," I said, my voice rough and shaking. "I need to see proof. Ultrasound pictures. Doctor info. Anything." She froze, slowly lowered her phone. "Why are you doing this right now?" she whispered, eyes narrowing. "Because I've been killing myself working nights," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "And I deserve to know what's real." Her expression twisted instantly. She shot up from the couch and snapped. "Are you accusing me of lying about carrying your child?" Her voice echoed through the small apartment, sharp and dramatic enough that neighbors probably heard. "I'm not accusing," I said, even though I knew exactly what I'd seen. "I'm asking for proof. That's it. Just proof." Then she began to cry, loud, messy sobs that felt too theatrical to be real. She clutched her stomach like she was in pain. "You're stressing me out. Do you want to lose the baby? Is that it? You want to blame me?" She collapsed onto the couch dramatically, shaking her head. "I can't believe you don't trust me during the hardest moment of my life." And just like that, guilt washed over me. Heavy, crushing. "Wrong. I'm sorry," I whispered, sitting beside her. "I didn't mean to." She cut me off with a choked sob. "Just stop. If you really loved me, you'd trust me." And in that moment, she made me feel like the villain, like I was the one ruining everything. But even as I apologized, even as she let me hold her, something deep inside me stayed cold. Because the truth I'd uncovered wasn't going away, and I knew this confrontation was only the start of a storm I wasn't prepared for. I thought the guilt would fade after that confrontation. I thought maybe I was being paranoid, maybe exhaustion had twisted things in my head. But everything inside me stayed tight, cold, and wrong. That feeling only got worse the afternoon my coworker Jake grabbed my shoulder at lunch and said, "Dude, are you free for a second? You need to see this." His tone wasn't casual. It wasn't friendly. It was the kind of tone people use when they're about to show you something life-changing and terrible. He handed me his phone, and there she was, Maya, in a crowded bar, drink in hand, laughing, posing for pictures like she hadn't a care in the world. The caption hit me first: "Saturday vibes with my girls." My breath stopped. My hands shook. But it was the comments that finished me. "Girl, still milking that fake baby story? He's still working nights? Damn, this one always finds a way to survive." I swear the world went silent. My chest tightened so painfully I thought I was having a heart attack. Jake looked at me with this mixture of pity and anger. "Man, she posted this last night. I thought she was pregnant." I couldn't talk. I couldn't breathe. My throat felt like it was closing. Because while I was dragging my body through a night shift, she was out drinking, laughing, while pretending to carry my child. Pretending to build a family with me. Pretending to be someone I was sacrificing everything for. That night, when I confronted her again, she didn't cry. She didn't panic. She didn't even hesitate. She placed a hand dramatically on her stomach, let out a shaky breath, and whispered, "I lost the baby. It's your fault. You stressed me out." Those words didn't just shatter me. They hollowed me out that I felt myself fall into a darkness I didn't know a person could survive. Because in that moment, I realized the truth wasn't just ugly, that it was cruel, deliberate, unforgivable. And I knew I hadn't hit bottom yet, not even close. After she told me she lost the baby because of my stress, I spent the next 2 days in a fog so thick I could barely think straight. I barely ate. I barely slept. I'd sit on the edge of the bed and stare at the floor, asking myself over and over, did I push too hard? Did I make her feel unsafe? Did I somehow cause this? The guilt tore into me, deeper than anything I'd felt in my life. But even in that darkness, something didn't sit right. The timing, the coldness in her eyes, the way she said it like she'd rehearsed the lines. By the third day, I needed answers. Real ones. So on my way home from work, I stopped by the clinic she claimed she went to for all her appointments. The woman at the front desk frowned when I told her Maya's name. "We don't have any records for her," she said. "Are you sure she's a patient here?" My stomach dropped. I tried another clinic she mentioned before. Same response. No records. No visits. No pregnancy. I called the pharmacy next, the one she claimed had given her vitamins and prenatal meds. The pharmacist checked twice, even spelling her name out loud. No prescription history at all, he said. I felt something break inside me. Clean, sharp, final. When I walked into the apartment that night, Maya was sitting on the couch, legs stretched out, eating chips, and watching a reality show like nothing catastrophic had happened. The sight of her so relaxed while I was drowning in betrayal made something in me snap. Maya, I said quietly. I went to the clinic today. She froze, just for a second. Then she rolled her eyes. Oh my God, are you still on that? I told you, I lost the baby. Why can't you just drop it? I stared at her. Really stared. For the first time, I didn't see the woman I'd fallen in love with. I saw someone who lied easily, who manipulated effortlessly, who used people without guilt. I'm done, I said simply. She laughed, actually laughed. No, you're not. You need me. You won't survive on your own. Her confidence in my dependence hit harder than the lies. And that was the moment I knew I had to walk away before she destroyed what little was left of me. I don't remember packing my things. My body moved on autopilot while my mind buzzed with one clear message: leave before you lose yourself completely. I grabbed only what was truly mine: some clothes, my work boots, a few tools, my documents. Everything else suddenly felt contaminated by her lies. Maya didn't even bother looking up from her phone until she heard the zipper on my duffel bag. What are you doing? She snapped, like I was inconveniencing her. I'm leaving, I said quietly. My voice didn't shake. It didn't break. It just existed, numb and steady in a way that scared even me. She scoffed. You're being dramatic. Sit down and talk like an adult. I paused. I tried talking. I tried trusting you. I tried believing you. And you used every ounce of that against me. She stood up, arms crossed, chin tilted high. So that's it. You're going to abandon me? After everything I went through? Something inside me snapped, not in anger, but clarity. You didn't go through anything, I said. You fabricated a pregnancy. You lied about appointments. You pretended to lose a child that never existed. And you did it all while I was killing myself working nights. Her face twisted. You can't prove anything. I don't need to. I slung the bag over my shoulder. I'm done living in a life built on your lies. She stepped toward me. If you walk out that door, don't come back. I looked at her for the last time. Really looked. At the woman who drained my savings, my energy, my hope. The woman who played with my emotions like they were disposable. I won't, I said softly, and I meant it more than anything I'd ever said. When the door closed behind me, the hallway felt cold but honest. I breathed air that didn't taste like guilt or manipulation. My coworker Jake opened his apartment door when I arrived. No questions asked, just a quiet nod and a spare blanket. For the first time in months, I slept. Really slept, without fear or lies hanging over me. But while I was trying to rebuild, she was preparing for one last move. And I had no idea how far she would go. The first week after I left felt unreal. I kept waiting for the crash, some emotional breakdown, some moment where all the hurt caught up to me. But strangely, the opposite happened. Every morning I woke up on Jake's couch to the hum of his old ceiling fan and the smell of burnt coffee, and instead of dread, I felt lighter, like someone had finally lifted a boulder off my chest. Still, I knew Maya wouldn't disappear quietly. People like her never do. And I was right. The messages started 2 days after I blocked her everywhere. Dozens of unknown numbers, some begging, some apologizing, some straight up threatening. You'll regret this. I made one mistake. Don't throw us away. You can't survive without me. Then suddenly, silence. Too much silence. I tried not to think about it, burying myself in work. My supervisor noticed how many extra shifts I was taking and said, "You're showing real dedication lately. Keep this up, and there's a promotion in your future." The word stunned me. For months, I'd been dragging myself in half alive, but without Maya draining me, I finally had room to breathe, to focus. Then one afternoon, while I was on break, my phone lit up with a message from a mutual acquaintance. "Dude, check Facebook. Maya's blowing up." My stomach tightened, but I looked. There she was, crying on camera, mascara streaked, hair messy, spinning some story about how she'd been emotionally abandoned during a pregnancy loss, trying to paint herself as a victim. For a minute, I felt a pang of guilt until I scrolled the comments. "Girl, didn't you pull this stunt on someone else before? Where's the proof? You weren't pregnant. You were at bars every weekend. Stop playing with men's emotions." And then the bombshell. Someone uploaded screenshots, her conversations with friends about faking the pregnancy, bragging about how much money she got out of me. Her whole facade collapsed in real time. People dragged her. Her landlord commented publicly that she was behind on rent. One of her old friends exposed how she'd scammed multiple guys before me. Maya tried to defend herself, but every reply made things worse. I just stared at my phone, stunned. Not happy, not vindicated, just free. But even then, I didn't realize she had one more card to play. And this time, she wasn't aiming to break my heart. She was aiming to ruin my life. I should have known the quiet wouldn't last. People like Maya don't just fade into the background. They lurk, waiting for the perfect moment to slither back. About a month after her social media meltdown, I got a call from a random number while I was heading out of the factory after a late shift. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something, maybe exhaustion, maybe curiosity, made me pick up. Please don't hang up. Her voice, faint, warned Maya. I froze in the parking lot, the cold night air biting my skin. What do you want? I asked, trying to keep my tone flat. I need closure, she whispered. Just one conversation. Please. I'm not trying to fight. Jake heard part of it and said, man, don't go. But something in me needed to see her, needed to understand how someone could lie so easily, so deeply, for so long. So I agreed to meet at a small cafe near the edge of town. Neutral ground. When I walked in, I hardly recognized her. The woman who used to spend hours perfecting her makeup now had dark circles under her eyes. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled. She looked like someone drained of all charm and confidence. She gave a weak smile. Hey. I sat down across from her. Say what you need to say. She let out a shaky breath. I messed up. I know that. I was scared of losing you. And I thought, if you believed we were starting a family, maybe you'd stay. Her voice cracked pathetically. I didn't mean for things to get so bad. I stared at her, stunned at how easily she twisted the narrative. You didn't mess up. You built an entire lie. You manipulated me. You pretended to lose a baby that never existed. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I saw it. Still, the performance beneath them. But you were the only man who ever loved me, she whispered. I shook my head slowly. No, I was the only man who believed you. She flinched like the words hit her physically. Is there someone else? She asked suddenly. Is that why you won't give me another chance? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I stood up to leave as her tears grew louder, drawing stares from nearby tables. But as I walked out of that cafe, I felt something shift inside me. Something calm, something final. I thought that was the end. I didn't realize the real ending was still waiting for me. Quiet, unexpected, and nothing like the closure she wanted. Walking out of that cafe felt like stepping out of a fog I didn't realize I'd been living in for months. The air outside hit cold against my skin, but for the first time in a long time, it didn't sting, it cleared me. I didn't look back once. I didn't check if Maya ran after me, didn't wait to see if she called out my name. I just walked. One step, then another. And with each step, the weight of her lies loosened, like a fist that had been choking my lungs was finally opening. That night, lying on Jake's couch, staring at the faint cracks in his ceiling, I realized something I should have understood years ago. Love, real love, doesn't demand that you bleed yourself dry. It doesn't ask you to trade your sanity for someone else's comfort. It doesn't trap you. It doesn't guilt you. And it damn sure doesn't masquerade as pregnancy tests that never existed, doctor visits that were never booked, or a miscarriage weaponized to break you. I'd spent my whole life believing sacrifice was the language of love, that the more I gave, the more worthy I'd become. But Maya taught me what sacrifice becomes in the wrong hands. Leverage. Control. A weapon. Months passed after that day. Quiet months. Healing months. I rebuilt my savings. I repaired relationships I'd let slip. I slept real sleep, not the shallow, haunted exhaustion I'd gotten used to. And somewhere in that healing, something unexpected happened. I met someone new. Not instantly. Not romantically. Just a coworker who became a friend, who saw me when I had nothing left to prove. Someone who didn't want anything from me except honesty. I won't say everything is perfect. I won't pretend scars disappear. But I'm not the man I was before. I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm not desperate to prove my worth. I don't mistake manipulation for affection. Sometimes I think about Maya, not with anger, not with sadness, but with clarity. She lied to trap me. She lied to keep me tied to her. But all she really did was show me the kind of man I never want to be again, and the kind of love I'll never accept again. The story didn't end with revenge or karma. It ended with freedom. And for the first time, that was enough.